Yeah, I'm in Arizona. I need the AC to run.
Oh, I know. No, it was, yeah, it sounded like, like wind was or something was like buffering the microphone and all. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, the headphones will probably help it out. So no, all right. Question on what constitutes the unity of a science, and so, as opposed to, so I'll ask you this, right? You would say physics and biology; those are distinct sciences, yes?
Yeah. Uh, in a way, yeah.
Okay. Well, in what way?
Well,
Because
I
they're
would
they're
say
both they're both kinds of natural sciences, but
right.
they seem to proceed from different sets of first principles.
Well, so I would say that physics is kind of it's like a species of, or sorry, biology is a species of
Hmm.
physics, um, because um, what makes physics to be physics, right, is that you're dealing with in physics particularly, right? The science of physics particularly, you're dealing with the subject, which is mobile being, right?
Mhm.
Um, so different kinds of if the subject is mobile being, what's formal to that notion is motion, right?
Mhm.
What's formal to the notion of mobile being is motion. Well,
Mhm.
then what's going to essentially divide the science are the essential divisions proper to motion,
Mhm.
right? So um, you say, okay, well, what are the essential divisions that are proper to motion? Well, you have local motion, growth,
Yeah.
diminution, except and therefore those distinctions, those divisions
Yeah.
within motion itself will properly divide physics into its
Mhm.
more specific sciences. And so you
Yeah. So,
say,
but you wouldn't say that you wouldn't call biology a branch
I
of
would,
natural science, really?
I would, yeah, I definitely would, because
Because
what
okay.
I would say that well, every kind of science is going to be defined in some way by what's formal to its subject, right?
Yes,
Well, okay, if you're is biology a kind of natural science?
it is a kind of natural science.
It's a kind of natural science. Okay, so then what kind of natural science is it? How do you limit
Yeah.
it? How do you get down to what it is?
Yeah.
Well, um, if
See.
you look, you say, all right, well, if you if you're going to divide the science according to what's essential to it, then you're going to consider what's essential to its formal notion,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So,
But what's
um,
formal? So what's the formal notion by which things in physics are known is through motion,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But the formality through which and under which things are known in biology is there being living,
right.
right?
So
It's a slightly different formality.
that's, I mean, you look, it's biology is a study of living things. That's true. But you look at the activity of living things that's proper to all living things,
Hmm.
right? And that's growth. That's the first power of a living thing.
Yeah, sure.
It's growth, right?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's also a kind of motion, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, so
that's
I'm saying,
why,
but that's what makes it. That's what I would say. It makes it a kind of natural science. Yeah, and I guess what I was asking about the whether or not it's a branch is, and maybe I am wrong on this. That's why I'm asking. It's that seems something's being living. The formal notion under which things are known in that science, it's distinct, right? It is yeah, it's because to be living, the thing that's common to all life, as you said, is growth, which is a kind of motion.
hmm and you can do that
But
with,
it's not the same formal notion, though. I wouldn't say.
well, it's what's, I mean, to like Aristotle says, right? In order to know what it means to be alive, you have to look at living activities, right?
Mm. Hmm.
It's there's just
Yeah.
there's no real, I mean, that's right. The power is made known by the activity, and the activity by the object. That's the order, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, so he never tells you, he never gives you a clean cut definition of life, right? It's just, here's what the soul is,
Hmm.
here's what it's responsible for, and here are its activities, and by its different activities, you know what its first role is, which is to make a thing alive, right?
Yeah.
But a thing is only known to be alive through its distinct living activities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the living activities that are proper to all living things, the first one there is growth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the species of motion, which is proper to biology, and the formal notion of which distinguishes it from natural science in particular. I mean, in general,
In
and
general.
all the other kinds of natural sciences in particular
Yeah.
is growth.
Okay.
And you could see that with the other species of motion. You could kind of map them out too to every other kind of natural science. For example, locomotion, right? You would say, well, what's the natural science that studies locomotion most of all? Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
physics
Mm-hmm.
as it's commonly understood, right?
Yes.
What's the what's the kind of motion that's proper to chemistry? Alteration, right?
Mm.
Because you're looking at the very
Okay.
alteration of the subject whereby new compounds are made, right? That's what you
Okay.
do. That's what balancing equations in chemistry is all about. That's what you're describing. That's those alteration process,
Yes.
right? Not
Okay.
not to say that no other kinds of motion will be present in any other science. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the kind of motion that's most distinctive of the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I think we're all willing to admit that, yeah, chemistry is a natural science, physics is a natural science, physics in particular, biology is a natural science. Okay, well, what's distinctive of natural science? What makes natural science natural science? Well, its subject is mobile being, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's formal to the notion of mobile being? Motion. Well, if you're going to divide according to what's essential, then you're going to have to look at what's essential to motion. Just
Okay.
like if you're going to divide triangles according to what's essential, you have to look at what's essential to
Mm.
triangles,
Yep.
the length of the sides, right? If it's a if it's a three-sided rectilineal plane figure, then the length of the sides and their relation to each other is going to be what distinguishes them essentially,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
same principle of division, I think. I
Okay.
think, yeah.
So then to ask another parallel, and I have a third follow up after that. Um, so for that very reason, I just started this translation of Garrigou-Lagrange, his book on the two books. They're huge. Each volume is massive.
Uh-huh.
But it's De Revelatione, right, on divine revelation. And one of the first things he treats of is, of course, the formal unity of the subject of theological science. And for that very reason we were just going through, he argues, and I think rightly, right, that there's only one theological science, and it has distinct branches, right? Moral theology, sacramental theology, whatever, right? But that
Hmm.
this is all just one science with these branches.
Yeah,
And you would say that's right, for the
yeah,
same
I would
reason
say,
we just said
sure.
that
Yeah,
the natural sciences are divisions of physica,
yeah, yep.
right? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I was the reason I've been thinking about this, because I had a meeting with Dr. Oliva today. Um, so there was this book that was published just like last year, and the author is making the case in his section on whether or not economics is a science. He's arguing, I think incorrectly, that there are 5 distinct economic sciences. And I don't think that that's right, given what we were just talking about. At least, so the way that I'm thinking about it is that formal notion under which all of these things are known uh, is the notion of their being economical, right, according to its own proper definition. But that you can have branches of economic science, but I don't think you can have distinct economic sciences, since they all proceed, far as I know, and as far as I've been able to tell, they all proceed from the same set of first principles that just economics as a whole proceeds from. Whether you're trying to describe it, whether you're trying to give an efficient causal explanation, whether you're trying to give a teleological explanation, what were the fourth one? The normative explanation or the political economy. Those are the five. Those are the 5 divisions he makes, and there doesn't seem to be a formal distinction between those. At least the formal notion under which all of those things are studied. That's what I'm thinking. But I wanted
Okay.
to ask you about what constitutes that notion of a unity.
Yeah, I mean, St. Thomas is seems like he actually directly treats this very point, right, in the
Hmm.
first question of the Summa,
Yep.
right?
It's like, what
Uh,
is it, Article 7, 6?
well, I think Article 3 is whether sacred
Whether
doctrine
it's
is one
one.
one
Okay.
science, and then I think Article 7 is what the subject of sacred doctrine is.
Yeah.
And of course, those are related, right? But in answer to the question, whether sacred doctrine is one science,
Hmm.
he says he treats of the question of the formal ratio of the science.
Yeah.
He says every single science will have its own proper formal ratio, right?
Hmm.
Um,
That's right.
and the formal ratio of things studied under the umbrella of sacred doctrine is
Yeah.
divine revelation, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So everything that's divinely revealed belongs to sacred doctrine insofar as it's divinely
Divinely.
revealed,
That's
right?
right.
And that's why all the things that you had just mentioned, the sacraments, morality,
Yeah. All that.
Trinity, whatever,
Okay. Christology.
all
Yeah.
that's
Everything.
all of it has the same formal ratio, right? It's
Yep.
something divinely revealed.
Yep.
So it belongs to the same one science, right?
Yep.
It might be it might be its own part within the science,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's still the same science,
Hmm.
just like metaphysics is the same one science, even if you have one part that deals with a defense of the axioms and another part that deals with natural theology, right?
Yep.
Doesn't matter. It's all in reference to being as being.
Yep.
So it's all the same science that's being practiced
Okay.
when and I mean, I don't know the particularities with economics as well as you do, obviously being your topic. But if you can make the point, well, all those five are still treated
Yeah. Under
under the
one
same
formal.
ratio,
Yeah. And
then
they are.
you'd still unite them under the same science or the
Yeah.
same art, technically. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a practical science. Yeah. It's, yeah, I understand.
yeah,
I would say, yeah. And I mean, that's definitely the way that I'm thinking about it. And so, no, I can accept, uh, what you were saying about the different, like physics, biology, chemistry, all being different, yeah, different branches of just natural science because they're all treated under the same formality, rather differently
yeah,
considered. And it's that formal notion that separates then mathematics and metaphysics, theology.
right,
Like that's
yeah.
what separates the other sciences. That's yeah. All right. See that makes sense to
Yeah.
me.
I mean, even sciences that have relations to one another, if they're not treated under the same formal notion,
Hmm.
then they're distinct from one another, right? You'd think that, okay, um, maybe it's the case that geometry and arithmetic belong to the same science,
Hmm.
right? But there might be just a general math under
Mm.
which you might have geometry and arithmetic. But really, the things in geometry are treated insofar as they're continuous quantities, right?
Hmm.
And the things in arithmetic are treated insofar as they're uh, discrete
Discrete
quantities,
quantities.
right? And those are, I mean, those are different species of quantity, and distinct enough in being that I would say that that constitutes a distinct formal ratio. So uh,
Hmm.
that's why I'd call them two different sciences.
You said that difference in species constitutes a formal difference.
Yeah, I
So I
mean,
was
otherwise you wouldn't make them different species, right? If one
all right.
species
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
distinct
Yeah.
from another, then
Yeah.
it's
It's a
only
formal
different in virtue of
difference.
a different form,
Different
right?
form. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, um, and
What you
yeah,
guys
and like
talking about?
Uh, the unit. What makes a science one? It's formal. It's formal unity. I had it because I had an economics question.
Okay, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to.
That's all
I
right.
just
We're
wanted
glad
to
to have you.
continue,
yeah.
Jake.
No, I mean
Pontificate.
we pretty much settled it, I think.
Yeah, I think so.